My dear brothers and sisters, we thank our God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the God who is love, for gathering us as a family of faith.
What if the next pope could shake things up and take the Catholic Church in a whole new direction, affecting over 1 billion people worldwide? People are starting to buzz, and one name keeps popping up: Cardinal Luis Tagle. Could he be the one to guide the faithful into an exciting new chapter? Rumors are swirling, and there's even some mysterious hints floating around that suggest Cardinal Luis Tagle might just be the next pope. So, let's dig in and explore what's going on. Every time the papal seat is up for grabs, it's like a gust of change blows through the Vatican. The whole world watches, holding its breath, wondering who'll step up to lead the Catholic Church next. With whispers in the air, age-old traditions, and a touch of divine inspiration steering the way, one name keeps ringing out in the Vatican's sacred halls: Cardinal Luis Tagle. This charming and widely adored cardinal has people talking. Insiders near the top are even saying the decision might already be locked in. But before we get into why he could be the perfect choice, let's break down what the Pope's job is all about. The Pope isn't just the leader of the Catholic Church. He's a big deal worldwide, inspiring over 1.3 billion Catholics. He's more than a boss. He's a symbol of togetherness, hope, and a link between the past and the future, all wrapped up in faith and history. The papacy is like a bridge that connects old traditions with a vision for what's ahead. The story of the Pope's role goes way back, almost 2,000 years, to St. Peter, one of Jesus' closest followers. Catholic tradition says Jesus picked Peter to lead the early Christians, telling him, "You're Peter, and on this rock I'll build my church." Peter became the first bishop of Rome, and every pope since is seen as carrying on that special mission. This long history makes the Pope unique. Known as the Vicar of Christ, he's considered Jesus' stand-in on earth, a pretty huge responsibility. With that kind of spiritual power, it's no wonder the world pays attention to who's next in line. The Pope isn't just a spiritual guide. He's also a real-world leader, tackling the messy challenges of today's society. His job is a big one, juggling everything from offering wisdom and faith to chatting with world leaders and standing up for what's right. As the top teacher of the Catholic faith, he's like the Church's compass, pointing the way with his writings, speeches, and letters that shape how over 1 billion Catholics live and think. He doesn't just influence the Church. His words spark conversations about right and wrong everywhere. Plus, he's a bit of a global peacemaker, building bridges between countries. The Vatican has friends in over 180 nations, so the Pope's got a megaphone to calm conflicts, settle arguments, and cheer for the underdog. On top of that, he's not afraid to speak out about big issues like climate change, human rights, and poverty. His voice carries weight, inspiring people, Catholic or not, to work together for a better world. For Catholics, the Pope's gig is more than just a job. It's a sacred calling. They believe the Holy Spirit picks him to lead, making sure he's the right fit for God's plan. That spiritual vibe gives the papacy a special glow, but it's not all smooth sailing. The Pope has to blend old-school traditions with the fast-moving modern world. Think digital life, talks with other religions, and fighting for fairness. His choices ripple out, touching every corner of the planet. Still, the Pope's role isn't forever. The Holy See, his official seat, opens up when he passes away or steps down. Most popes stick around until the end, but in 2013, Pope Benedict XVI shocked everyone by retiring. He said he was too old and tired to keep going, A rare move that reminded us even the Pope is human, carrying a massive load. When that seat's empty, the world tunes in to watch a hush-hush process pick the next Pope, a choice that shakes up the Church and beyond. Before we dive into how they choose the new guy, let's chat about the man in charge right now, Pope Francis. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio, he became Pope Francis in 2013, the 266th Pope in line. He's a trailblazer, the first Jesuit Pope, the first from the Americas, and the first to pick the name Francis, nodding to St. Francis of Assisi, a humble saint who loved the poor. From day one, Pope Francis won hearts with his down-to-earth style and big dreams for a church that lifts up the overlooked. His leadership's been a game-changer, tossing out stuffy old rules to make the church a welcoming place full of kindness. He's all about meeting people where they are, with a warm hug instead of a rule book, a pastoral approach that's made him a rock star, not just for Catholics, but for anyone craving a bit of hope in a divided world. And that humility? It's the real deal, shining through everything he does. Right from the start, Pope Francis made it clear he wasn't about the fancy stuff that usually comes with being Pope. Instead of moving into the grand apostolic palace, he picked a simple apartment in the Vatican's Santa Marta guest house. There, he grabs meals in a shared dining hall and chats with workers and visitors every day. It's a small choice that says a lot. He's all about staying close to the people he's here to help. For Francis, humility isn't just a nice idea. It's how he lives, inspired by Jesus' teachings. That same spirit drives his big push to stand up for the poor and forgotten, a mission that's been at the heart of his time as Pope. Born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, to a regular working-class family, he saw up close how tough life can be for those struggling to get by. Those early days shaped him, and now he's all about fighting for fairness. As Pope, he's called out the huge gaps between rich and poor, labeling it a scandal and begging world leaders to put people before money. In writings like Evangelii Gaudium, aka The Joy of the Gospel, he's made it the Church's job to be there for the poor, taking a page from his namesake, St. Francis of Assisi. But it's not just about money. Francis also cares about all the ways people get left out today. He's kicked open doors to talk about tricky stuff the Church used to avoid, like individual sexuality rights, divorce, and reaching out to other faiths, all while sticking to Catholic roots. His approach? Kindness over criticism. When he said, "Who am I to judge?" about LGBTQ Catholics seeking God, it was a game changer, way different from past popes, and it hit home with people everywhere. Francis has also been busy making friends across religions at a time when tensions are high. Take his big trip to Iraq. He met with Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani and teamed up with Sheikh Ahmed el-Tayeb, a top Muslim leader, to sign a pact about peace and respect. These moves show he's serious about bringing people together, making the Catholic Church a force for good vibes worldwide. But not everyone's on board. Some old-school folks in the Church think he's shaking things up too much. Stuff like giving local leaders more say, boosting women's roles, and tackling priest scandals has sparked some loud arguments. Still, Francis isn't backing down. He believes the Church has to grow with the times while keeping its soul intact. As amazing as he's been, Pope Francis is in his late 80s now, and his health isn't what it used to be. Naturally, people are starting to wonder what's next for the papacy and who might step up when the time comes. Pope Francis has been open about how tough his job is, and has even said he might step down if he feels he can't keep up anymore. He's taking a cue from Pope Benedict XVI, who quit in 2013, opening the door for Francis to take over. Quietly, Some say Francis is already thinking about who might replace him. Someone who'll keep pushing his big ideas of a welcoming worldwide church that puts the poor first and brings people together. It seems Francis really wants the next pope to keep the ball rolling on his reforms, focusing on fairness, kindness, and unity. His words and moves suggest he's hoping for a leader who's just as humble and caring as he's been. So, as the church peeks into the future, everyone's wondering, who's going to pick up where Francis leaves off? Could it be Cardinal Luis Tagle? That choice might shape the Catholic Church for years to come. But wait, how do they even pick a new pope? Let's break it down. Choosing a pope is a super special hush-hush event called the Conclave, wrapped in traditions that go back hundreds of years. It's a mix of spiritual vibes, old-school rules, and careful decisions to make sure the right person leads the Catholic Church. The Conclave grabs the world's attention, not just for Catholics, but because it's so mysterious and cool. It all kicks off when the papal seat, called the Holy See, opens up. As we've covered, that happens either when the Pope passes away or decides to retire. Most popes stick around until the end, but Benedict XVI's exit in 2013 showed that even this ancient gig can switch things up. When the seat's empty, the Church enters sede vacante mode, Latin for "the seat is empty," and starts getting ready for the conclave. While that's happening, the College of Cardinals takes charge of the Church. These are the big shots, senior leaders like bishops or Vatican insiders who'll pick the next pope. Not every cardinal gets a vote, though. Only those under 80 can join in. Right now, about 120 cardinals from all over the world are eligible, showing off how global the Church really is. They head to Rome and lock themselves in the Sistine Chapel, one of the Vatican's most famous spots, to get down to business. Before they start, the cardinals swear a big oath to keep everything top secret. No spilling the beans about their talks or votes. It's a serious promise that keeps the process pure and sacred. Here's where it gets fun. Conclave comes from Latin words meaning "with a key," because they literally lock the doors to keep it private. The voting itself is straightforward, but full of meaning. Each cardinal writes down their pick on a ballot, folds it, and drops it into a fancy cup called a chalice. They count the votes, and if nobody gets 2/3 of them, they try again, over and over until someone wins. After each round, they burn the ballots in a stove hooked up to a chimney that everyone outside can see. Yep, that's where the famous smoke signals come from. It's a simple system with a lot of heart, making sure the next pope is the real deal. Down in St. Peter's Square, everyone's watching the chimney. Black smoke? No pope yet. White smoke? Boom! We've got a new leader. But the conclave isn't just about counting votes. It's soaked in spirituality. For Catholics, this isn't some boring election. It's the Holy Spirit guiding the cardinals. They pray, think hard, and ask for heavenly help to pick the right person for the job. Inside the Sistine Chapel, surrounded by Michelangelo's jaw-dropping paintings, like God reaching out to Adam, they're reminded how huge this choice is. There's no official checklist for picking a pope, so the cardinals look at things like a candidate's faith smarts, experience with people, knack for diplomacy, and ideas for where the Church should go next. Lately, they've been zeroing in on someone who can tackle today's big issues. Fewer people showing up to church, messy scandals, and making everyone feel welcome. Once a cardinal gets 2/3 of the votes, they ask him, "You in?" If he says yes, he picks a new pope name, something that's been a tradition since way back in the 6th century with Pope John II. Then, they dress him up in fresh white robes made just for the moment and show him off on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica. The big announcement, Habemus Papam, or We Have a Pope, kicks off wild cheers. It's a massive deal, not just for Catholics, but for the whole world. The Pope's more than a church boss. He's a guide for millions, a voice on big global topics, and a steady hand in a crazy, changing world. The conclave's secrecy and cool rituals make it mysterious, but deep down, it's all about faith that the Holy Spirit's steering the ship to find the perfect leader for right now. Even though the conclave sticks to super-old traditions, it's changing with the times. The cardinals come from all over: Asia, Africa, Latin America. And that mix shows how global the Church is becoming. It's a hint that future popes might keep shaking things up, like Pope Francis did as the first from the Americas, moving away from the Europe-heavy past. As the Church looks ahead, the conclave blends respect for history with excitement for what's next. It's all about picking a leader with prayer, heart, and a sense of something bigger. When that white smoke floats up, it's game on. A new pope steps up, carrying centuries of tradition and the dreams of billions. So, who's next after Pope Francis? He's in his late 80s now, and with his health acting up, people are buzzing about which cardinal might take over. Whoever it is, they'll get the spiritual gig, plus the wild challenge of leading the Church through today's fast-moving world. The stakes are high, and everyone's watching. When it comes to who might follow Pope Francis, a few names keep popping up alongside Cardinal Luis Tagle. One big contender is Cardinal Pietro Parolin from Italy. As the Vatican's Secretary of State, Pietro's a pro at handling the Church's tricky global relationships. He's smoothed things over with China and tackled international spats, showing he's a calm, practical guy who could keep the Church steady on the world stage. He's got that classic Pope vibe, someone who keeps things running smoothly. Then there's Cardinal Marc Ouellet from Canada. Marc's a brainy theology expert and runs the Vatican's Congregation for Bishops, which means he helps pick bishops all over the world. That gig has given him a front-row seat to the Church's ups and downs. He's smart, great at managing stuff, and could lead with a strong grip on faith while still handling today's challenges. Another name in the mix is Cardinal Christoph Schönborn from Austria. Christoph's sharp and caring, and he's big on chatting with other religions, especially Jewish and Muslim folks. He believes everyone's got a spiritual side, even if some don't buy into the divine, and he's cool with that. His knack for bringing people together fits the Church's goal of spreading peace in a divided world. But the one stealing the spotlight? Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle from the Philippines. People call him the Asian Pope Francis because he's got charisma, humility, and a way of clicking with everyone. He leads Caritas Internationalis, the Church's worldwide help squad, and he's all in for justice and helping the poor. His style, full of kindness and openness, feels like a page out of Pope Francis's playbook, perfectly matching the Church's global vibe. Whoever gets the nod next will show what the Church wants to focus on moving forward. When the cardinals lock themselves in the Sistine Chapel for the conclave, they'll be sizing up each guy's faith, people's skills, and ability to shine on the global stage. But what if the choice is already locked in? Let's talk about why Cardinal Luis Tagle might just be the next pope. Out of all the names floating around, Luis Antonio Tagle stands tall as someone who could shake things up. Nicknamed the Asian Pope Francis, he's got that same humble, caring, forward-thinking energy that's defined Francis's time in charge. He's the kind of leader who could carry the torch and keep the Church moving toward compassion and connection, especially with his heart for the poor and his global outlook. The buzz around him isn't just talk. He's got the chops, to lead the Church into its next big chapter. Cardinal Luis Tagle's story is as amazing as his potential to lead. Born in Manila, Philippines in 1957, he grew up in a simple home where he saw up close how tough life can be for the poor. That shaped him big time, guiding his path as a priest and later as a cardinal. He became a priest in 1982 and stood out fast for his smart take on faith and his big heart for people who don't have much. Luis has this special gift. He can connect with anyone, using his warm personality and great stories to make deep spiritual stuff feel simple and relatable. In 2012, Pope Benedict XVI noticed his talents and made him a cardinal, spotlighting his awesome leadership and care for others. Since then, Luis has become a star, not just in the Church but around the world. He's the head of Caritas Internationalis, the Church's global help team, where he's tackled poverty, climate change, and disasters head-on. He's all about fairness and helping those who need it most, which lines up perfectly with Pope Francis's vibe and the Church's mission to lift up the underdog. What makes Luis really stand out is how he brings people together. Coming from Asia, where Catholicism is growing but still a smaller player, he's a symbol of the Church's global reach today. If he became Pope, it'd be a huge shift from the Europe-focused past, showing the Church is serious about including everyone. He speaks English, Italian, Tagalog, and more, so he can chat with folks from all over, making him a perfect fit for our super-connected world. His style is a lot like Pope Francis's, down-to-earth and focused on people. He skips the fancy stuff, travels quietly, and hangs out with communities that need support. In his talks, he's all about kindness, welcoming everyone, and really hearing the people society often ignores. Luis isn't afraid to dive into today's big issues either: migration, talking with other faiths, and fixing unfair money gaps, always with an open, caring approach. Younger Catholics especially love him because he gets their struggles and dreams. Word on the street is that Pope Francis might see him as the next in line. Some even say Francis has quietly told folks, "Luis is my pick." If that's true, it's a huge deal. Francis has been all about a church that puts the poor first, shakes things up, and pulls people together. Oh, and fun fact, Francis's trip to Asia in September stirred up even more chatter about this. But being Pope wouldn't be a cakewalk for Luis. His forward-thinking ideas and ties to Francis's changes might rub some of the Church's old-school crowd the wrong way. He'd have to handle that pushback while tackling stuff like fewer people going to church in places like the West and cleaning up clergy scandals, all with smarts and grit. Still, Luis has shown he's got what it takes to lead through tough times with heart and strength. In a nutshell, he's the kind of guy who could make the Catholic Church a worldwide, welcoming, faith-filled family that's all about helping others. With his knack for sparking hope, connecting people, and leading humbly, Luis is a top contender to steer the Church next. Rumor has it Francis is rooting for him, and his talents are getting harder to ignore. So, who'd you pick? Drop your thoughts in the comments.